All right, so I'm here with Karen Locker from Solutions for E-commerce, and we're going to be talking about some really good things that could help your Amazon business move forward by taking a lot of things off your plate, off your to-do list, so that you have more time to do things that are more profitable in your Amazon business. Thank you, Karen, for hanging out with me today and talking with me.
It was great. It's going to be great talking to you. We haven't talked in a long time.
Yeah, it's been a while, but I know this conversation is going to be good. It's going to help out a lot of people. So I know you first started off selling online and you stumbled into this whole solutions for e-commerce business. How did your business transition to selling on Amazon to actually helping people with their own Amazon goals?
Yeah, stumbling would be the good way to say it because it wasn't a planned business at the time. So I've been helping some friends put listings up on Amazon since way back in 2008, 2009. I used to, and I still sell a little bit. Um, But what I would do is Amazon is a flat file world, which is just a spreadsheet. And a lot of people, spreadsheets are daunting. Now, I've been using spreadsheets. I really don't want to admit this, but from since 1984 when it was Lotus 123,
Oh my goodness, that's old
long
school.
time ago. So to me, a spreadsheet, and that was back when you had the big 5.5 inch floppy disks. So to use a spreadsheet was not a big deal. They're a lot easier, but for a lot of people, it's daunting and it's boring and it's when you're trying to upload the stuff to Amazon, you have to make sure every little box is right and go through the errors. So that's how I started is I started putting up a couple of listings for people back then or moving listings they were selling on eBay and Amazon was the big thing in 2009. So we were moving them to Amazon. Then back then to get ungated was totally different. If you wanted to be ungated in shoes or clothing, you had to fill out a flat file and you had to fill it out right. The problem was is you'd send it to Amazon and they'd tell you did it wrong, even though you did it right. And then you'd send it in the way they told you, and then they tell you it was wrong. So that's another thing that I started doing is I started doing those spreadsheets for people to get them to be able to sell in clothing, shoes, and accessories, which then mushroomed into fixing other categories, watches and jewelry. Then you just had to send in photos, but they had to be certain photos with white. It was, yeah. You had 2 pixels that weren't white that wouldn't pass.
Right.
So that's a lot of what I started doing. Then when I was working with these people back in, I want to say 2013, 14, it's like, well, I'm in my account and this says it's stranded. What does that mean? Or this says it's suppressed. What does that mean? It's like, I don't know. So I'll go look. And I went and looked and I figured it out. And then either I had to do a flat file upload or whatever to fix it. And I'd fix it. And then they'd call me again and say, well, so then I said, well, how about if for every month I just for a flat fee go in and look at this stuff and keep it fixed? And that's basically how Solutions for E-commerce was started, is people started paying me for a flat fee to go look at all these things that nobody has time to look at because you're busy trying to run your business and do the
Mhm.
things that are profitable.
Yeah.
And sending cases to Amazon is not profitable. Not a profit center to sit there for 2 hours in a 2 week period of time, going back and forth with Amazon, trying to get them to understand what you're saying,
Right.
give them what they want, which is never always the same. So, you know,
Yeah, there's a lot of listeners right now who know exactly what you're talking about. They're like, I've tried to reach out to Seller Central. I got a copy and paste reply that had nothing to do with what I was actually talking about or asking. And that, they seem like they're trying to be helpful, but they're not really being helpful. And so you started figuring out exactly what it was that they really wanted to hear and know, and what you need to know as a seller, and fix that communication gap, I guess,
and
that's
and
going
my
on.
team has the time because that's what they're paid for to
Right.
spend the time going back and forth with Amazon.
Mhm.
I don't go back and forth with Amazon. Account Health called me one time because I sell military challenge coins and the Marine Corps complained that I was violating their IP, the Marine Corps that, we all pay for. Um, so they called me to tell me I had these IP violations. I'm like, yeah, yeah, well, it's a Marine Corps. It says Marine, I can't do it. And he's like, well, just open a case with seller support. And I actually said to the man, have you ever talked to seller support? And he's like, no. I said, okay. Because as you do this for a long time, a lot of times you know more than the seller support person. And what
Yeah.
happens is they give the canned response, you give them the answer back. Then a new person comes in and reads it,
Yeah.
which doesn't read back to see all the conversations that have that you've had. So you're basically starting all over again every time. With listings right now, there's been a whole lot of changes, as I'm sure your people are finding out, between bundles and orphans and when you can add to a parent, when you can't add to it. And every time it's different,
Mhm.
there's no consistency to it. So my team will have to go and write a case, and then they'll say something, and then they have to go back and say, okay, that didn't work. What do you want me to try now? And we go back until we can hopefully get it done. Can't
Yeah.
always guarantee it. That's why I tell people we're working with Amazon. I have to play by their rules. I'm very careful to play by their rules because in the 10, 12 years I've been doing this part of it, I've seen a lot of companies come and go because they find better ways, easier ways, more efficient ways
Hmm.
to deal with something. And Amazon says, yeah, but no, because now we have to open all these cases and deal with and pay more support. So no, this is not more efficient. You can't open cases anymore. Um,
Yeah.
One of the things that we find is, for a while, a couple of years ago, maybe 8 years ago now, Amazon hated reimbursement companies. They didn't want any reimbursement companies. Do you remember when it first came out when they talked about, well, you go to your reports and you pull your lost and you send that all to Amazon and tell them to reimburse you?
Yes, I remember that. I used to do it. Yeah.
And Amazon used to say, what? No, you need to reconcile it first. You need to show that it's lost. So that's one of the things we do. We
Hmm.
look at the lost, but we also compare to the found and the reimbursed before we ask Amazon. Because that way, Amazon has this little known, and I don't know if any of your folks have run into it, misuse of the case log.
Huh.
If you open too many cases in too fast a time, unless there's something specific going on, Amazon will tell you you're misusing the case log. So
Right.
we're very careful how we open cases because Amazon is it's their platform, it's their playground, and they control it.
Yeah. And one of the biggest frustrations with interactions with Seller Central, with the Seller Central rep, it's like, I know they're doing the best that they can. I hope. And I know that they're being graded on how fast they deal with things, not actually how fast they help people, but just how fast they get those cases closed. And so, they're trying to find quick ways to close the case and stuff. And the finding a solution is not always the fastest way for them to close it. And so it's people like, you and me who continue the conversation and continue looking for those solutions that are able to actually get things done. And so when you get frustrated with selling on Amazon, a lot of it can be centered around your interactions with Seller Central. And that's why I know I've been using solutions for e-commerce and your services that you and your company put together. I think it's almost 10 years. It might be over 10
Pretty
years.
close. Yep.
And it's allowed me to have a peace of mind that all my Amazon backend stuff is being taken care of. It's being taken care of the right way. I'm getting the right kind of reimbursements. I'm getting the feedback removed that needs to be removed. I'm getting this fixed that needs to get fixed, and I'm able to focus on sourcing more inventory, which is the profitable side of business.
Exactly. The only place you make your money is when you're buying your inventory. That
Yeah.
is the absolutely only place you make any money in this business. And one of the things I've found over the years is Amazon keeps changing the back end, as I'm sure you've seen.
Mhm.
And every time they make it better for sellers, it actually makes it so much harder to find all of these things that we find. It now takes us twice as long to deal with unfillable inventory than it used
Yep.
to make sure that there's no warehouse distributor damage, carrier damage stuff in there that they're saying. And then the other problem that we run into a lot, and this is something that not every seller has time to do, we'll go to do a removal order for somebody for an unfulfillable, and Amazon will tell us it's unavailable for removal.
Yep. Been
So
there.
then we track it, and then 2 weeks later, when we try to remove it again, and they still say it's unavailable for removal, but if it's there for 30 days, they're going to dispose of it. So we then have to open a case on that second time to say, we're trying to remove this inventory. You tell us it's unavailable for removal, but we don't want to have it disposed of. So
Right.
then at least we have a paper trail that when they do dispose of it, because they'll put it on the disposal order, we can say, well, we opened a case on this date and said it was unavailable for removal because that's your inventory that they're getting rid of on you. There's a lot of things that we do now that are more double checks to make sure, like we check every day when we go in, we check everybody's disposal orders to make sure there aren't any that Amazon created. Because what happens is, and we specify when we create removal disposal orders, we have a specific code we use. So we know that it's us. And we'll see these other ones that start with X and start with, and I'm like, okay. And then we let the seller know there's this disposal order. We can't cancel them anymore. We used to be able to. Can't cancel them, can't do a removal. So we're at least letting you know that this is going on. Sometimes those are the cases where it does take the seller themselves to make the phone call.
Right.
You know, one of the battles we have, and I'm sure you've seen this, is with the shipping, the inbound shipping queue. We
Hmm.
do the reconciliation on that, which is not, from what I understand, and you can tell me if I'm wrong, the inbound shipping queue is not part of this new automatic reimbursement that they're doing for lost and damaged, correct?
Right. As far as I know, yeah.
Yeah, because I'm working with some people and trying to say, we still need to check this. But now I'm sure you've seen that sometimes Amazon insists they got an empty box, got a 40-pound empty box.
It's a miracle. 40-pound empty box.
And Amazon does not let us fight those. It is really hard. We'll open cases, but eventually we'll write back to the seller and say, this is one of those things where you have to call them and try to talk to the captive team and try to get somebody to pay attention. They also have the new counted and that they've audited it and counted it already. And you may say you're short 5, but you sent in 5. And they're like, we counted it, you're short 5. And then eventually they'll find it and put
Right.
it, so all of those kinds of things. We open as many cases as we can until Amazon says, yeah, no, you can't open any more cases.
Right.
You were talking about feedback. We open one to try to get it automatically removed. And then every seller decides what we do next. Some want us to open a second case where we kind of put in some information. Some want to do that themselves because they have specific things they want to say. Some want us to do the second case, but not the third one, because I think you get 2 bites of the apple after the automatic.
Hmm.
So we have a big form that we have everybody fill out when they start. What do you want us to do about these things? Because everybody's different.
Yeah.
Some people
And
are very hands-on in their business and some are not.
And one of the things I really like about the form that you send to Amazon sellers asking us, how do you want us to handle this? Is that you on a regular basis, I think about once a year, send it out again and be like, is all this still the same? Do you still want us to do the same things or do you want any things to be changed? And I love that. It's not just, you're only going to treat things differently if we ask you specifically. No, you double check to make sure, is
Yeah.
this still how you want to handle things?
And we always check on that same once a year. We also check on where your addresses are. Because
Mm.
some people are using some people are using places, liquidation places themselves. Some people want it to come back to them. Some people want it to go to a warehouse. Some people want different types of things to go different places. So we always check because Amazon is known to change those. So we send a little snapshot of this is what Amazon has as your disposal orders. Is this right?
Yeah,
So one of the things so we're partners in this is the way I look at it. So
100%.
it's not a set it and forget it because I do have some people that, you know, set it and forget it and don't respond to our emails and don't answer us. And then they yell at us when something happens. And it's
Mhm.
like, you know, my team is very diligent. They've been with me, a lot of them 4 or 5 years. We're very careful because we know we're in people's livelihoods. And we just try to take care of all of those time consuming data entry tasks. And everybody laughs at me when I say this, but it's a true comparison. You couldn't live without your garbage collector taking your trash away from you, right? But do you ever think about the trash collector? Do you ever like have any appreciation that this man gets rid of all the nasty stuff in your world? No. We're kind of like that. We get rid of we work on the nasty stuff. And it's tough sometimes because it's hard to see what we've done. Because if there
Mhm.
were 15 suppressed items and we cleaned them all up, you don't see them anymore. So we send a weekly report. This is what we worked on. This is what we did. We work on the reimbursements once a month because we try to stay within Amazon's windows.
Mhm.
Amazon wants 45 days to return an item. So we can't open a case before 45 days. So we tend to go 60 days so that there's that wiggle room and we can cover the whole month at the same time.
Yeah,
There's
and
a lot.
I
Go
love
ahead.
how solutions for e-commerce, you know the timing, you know when you're supposed to ask, because it's always frustrating when you spend the time ask Amazon if they could do something or reimburse something or fix something, and they're like, well, we have to first wait for this amount of time to pass. And so it's like you wasted all that time asking just for them to say, wait. And then you have to set an alarm to remind you to go back. And if you do actually do remember to follow through, it's like all that is taken care of on the back end. And like you were saying with the whole um, uh, being appreciative of your trash collectors, taking all that stuff away, that's what's going on with solutions for e-commerce. You're taking a lot of frustration away. You're spoiling me as an Amazon seller because y'all are taking care of the hard, really frustrating stuff and allowing me to focus, like I said before, on the profitable stuff. And it reminds me of, like, I feel like most Amazon sellers should outsource two things in their Amazon business. Number one, their prep and shipping to Amazon if possible, and number two, their Amazon back end. And those aren't one and two as rankings; they are just the two things. Because,
Yep.
like, for me, if I have a I used to have a prep center to take care of my outsourcing of prepping and shipping to Amazon, and they closed down their business, and it took me a month to find it, and it was the longest month of my life having to go back and redo it myself. And I feel like the same thing. If solutions for e-commerce went out of business or whatever, which I don't, I mean, y'all been around forever. I don't expect it ever to,
Nope.
but I don't ever want to go back to taking care of my back end stuff. And y'all just been, it's a lot more fun to run your Amazon business when you have solutions for e-commerce in your back pocket, knowing that, yeah, they're taking care of so many things that you don't have to.
Well, thank you. And one of the things, and I mean, me being, my own entrepreneurial self, is one of the things that all of us do is we think we can do it faster, cheaper, because it doesn't cost anything if we do it. And we always are going to do it better because we do than if we outsource. The problem with that is if you're spending 2 hours a week opening cases with seller support, that's 2 hours you can't be finding new products. That's 2 hours you can't be doing something else. If you found an orphan shoe that you want uploaded to Amazon and it takes 4 times to get it through, well, that's, how much of your time are you spending
Mm-hmm.
to get one shoe that you may have only found one of up on the thing? And, some people believe in only sourcing products that are already in Amazon's catalog. And that's wonderful, but you're only sourcing things that have competition. So if you can make it between the two, new stuff and stuff that's in the catalog, then it's a little easier for you to not always be fighting that wonderful run to the bottom that people do when they get scared and they need their cash.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And because I know there's been time in the past where we found something and there was no Amazon sales page, and I was like, I don't know the right way to set up an Amazon sales page. I don't know the right way to make sure my pictures are compliant and that customers will actually find it. So I reach out to you and your team. They
They
take
do it
care of
all.
that, and it's pretty awesome.
Yeah, we actually have, so my business is set up that I have two teams. And I've been doing this long enough now that I actually have a hierarchy of staff, which is the smartest thing one should ever do if one has people working for them. Is I have a listing team and all they do all day, every day is create product pages and discuss with Amazon seller support why the page doesn't go up with the
Mhm.
8531 error and the this and the that and all these white label, black label. Well, no, you can't change it even though it's wrong because the brand owns it, even though the brand has never sold on that. That
Yeah,
those are always my favorite. This company does not sell on Amazon, has never looked at Amazon, but they own the listing because it's their brand and doesn't matter that it's wrong. So
right.
those are a lot of the things that sometimes if we're persistent enough and have the right information, we can get fixed, not always. Um, and then on the other side is the account maintenance team where you have a dedicated person. There is one person that is in your account, I'm very careful with that. We use user accounts to do the logins. We don't log in as your account ever because we don't want Amazon thinking I have hundreds of accounts. Or they're linked because you know
Right.
that sometimes you can have more than one account, sometimes you can't have more than one. It depends
Hmm.
upon whatever the thought process is at this time.
Right.
Um, so we're always very careful when we log in. One person does reimbursements every month. She does all the reimbursements. She's been doing them for 4 years. Now, there's a lot of companies out there that will generate these reports, and some of them find money that we haven't found yet. But the key is we haven't found it yet because we run on a 30-day or a 60-day look.
Hmm.
Some of them do it really fast, but one of the things I've found over the years is when you turn it in too fast, then you'll see a whole pile of reversals.
Right.
Because Amazon gives themselves they give themselves 30 to 60 days to find lost things. I don't know how this is going to work with this new process that they're offering.
Hmm.
So what I've told my team is when this new process comes into effect, you still need to record on a sheet every lost item, and then you need to watch to make sure the reimbursements come through
Yep.
or that it gets found. So again, it's another layer of things that we're going to monitor to help sellers so they don't have to. Then the window is now the new window is shrinking. I forget it's a much smaller window to
Right.
file. Because it was 18 months for that and 9 months for the shipping queue. So when new people would on board with us, we go back 18 months through their lost and damaged and all that. And we go back 9 months in the shipping queue. And now it's like, no, you can only get 30 days or I can't remember what it is, 30 or
Right.
60 days to open those tickets. So we build in place a lot of double checks to make sure that we get as much. I can't say we get the most back. I'll be honest.
Hmm.
I'm a firm believer in honesty, transparency, but within Amazon's restrictions, we get as much as we can without putting things at risk.
Yeah, and I love the reimburse. Like, I love when I get the reports of like, hey, this is how much Solutions for E-commerce has helped you get reimbursed this month in your Amazon business. And many times it's over, like, y'all help get reimbursed more than what I'm paying you
Yep.
per month. So I'm able to almost offset that and have most of my months of solutions for e-commerce paid for because of your reimbursement services. Now, obviously, if you have a newer account or not a lot of inventory in stock, that might not be the case for you, but it is something that I love, that I'm like, all right, that the thing I'm paying to do the work, just a fraction of the work, is helping me pay for all the rest of the work that you do.
Yeah, and one of the things that we're very careful of is I used to be able to say we'll make you more in reimbursements every month. Then I can't say that anymore because Amazon is as people have as people have learned to open cases and hold Amazon accountable for things, Amazon has learned to adapt their processes. Like
Mhm.
years ago, we never recorded on that Amazon reimbursements that they did on their own. And we do now. So you can see that, these things were lost, but Amazon did reimburse you. This is what we found.
Right.
So that we're trying to be all inclusive, because that stuff is stuff people don't see.
Yeah.
Um, and we're also careful that we're not just a reimbursement service.
Right.
There's a lot of reimbursement services out there that charge you 25% of your fees or whatever, but we do a lot more. And as Amazon has evolved, so have we. So some things we don't do is we don't do plan of corrections. I leave that to the people that specialize in that because that's
Mhm.
your business
Right. Yeah.
and that will keep, it could shut you down. And if we don't do something right, I'd rather
Right.
outsource. I refer you to somebody that specializes in that.
Yeah.
Um, but we'll look at your account health and we'll send you a message like, hey, this is going on. We'll look at the voice of the customer, which, I don't know who looks at it, who doesn't. It's just another bit. Because if there's a ASIN that's kind of like not doing well, we'll
Right.
let you know that you can look at it and maybe the detail page is off or you can look at it and make an informed decision.
Yeah.
We don't, excuse me.
No
We
problem.
try really hard that we don't touch anything that has to do with your wallet, meaning we don't do refunds unless you request us to. We are very careful with that. And we don't tell you how to run your business. I
Yeah.
have people that will ask us to make bundle listings. We will tell them that they can't do it this way. And they
Right.
will say they don't care, they want it done. It's like, okay, but you're at risk if you do it this way. We try to inform everybody the best we can. Another thing we do, I don't know if you have anybody that does some FBM along with
Yes.
FBA.
Yeah.
We'll do the safety claims for, at that higher level rate that we have is you send us a picture of the packaging, you send us a picture of, what you got back, we'll file the safety claim. We do things like when you get stuff back from Amazon as a return that's totally damaged.
Right.
And a lot of times the biggest one this is the best for is if it's over, when you're bringing back overstock, stuff that you have too much of, and they're yelling at you that you have too much of it. And it's no longer sellable because it's smashed to smithereens.
Right.
We'll open a case for that as long as you send, as long as they send us the information.
Yeah.
And we have two levels of service for people that want all of that stuff, all of those extraneous cases, and some people that just want the basics and they just want us to monitor all this other stuff.
Yeah.
Um,
And you hear someone might hear the basics and just think it's a few things. No, it's a ton of things that Solutions for E-commerce does. The more, I think it's called Premier, is just more personalized uh things that you can ask
yeah,
Solutions for.
more cases and more, as my team calls it, because they are out, they are overseas, is my ad hoc stuff.
Uh-huh.
Every-
Yes.
It's like, okay, ad hoc, that's cool. Like you got something that's really weird and you want Amazon, I have somebody that we've been fighting a case for 3 months now on a shipping queue because they sent the wrong thing in. They knew it sent the wrong thing in. Amazon can't find the wrong thing, and it was an expensive thing. So we're
Uh,
still trying to get Amazon. I've gone round and round with entire shipments that have been lost and helping people find $2,000-3,000 shipments. Um, Back in the old days, a while ago, Amazon had an issue with, I'm assuming it was the FTC. I'm going to guess this,
yeah.
where jewelry was an issue and you had to put all this new information in. Well, the problem is that the brand had a vendor central account, which meant Amazon created the listings and we could create our own back then because jewelry, you didn't have to UPC match. You could make, so we had to merge them all together. And there were so many, I had a dedicated seller support rep that helped me work with the catalog team for 2 months on every one of them, that the metal was wrong, the stone was wrong, the this was wrong, that. So then after we did all that, then we ended up with the ship with two different FNS SKUs. So we had all this strand that took a 2-hour phone call with Amazon to try to tell them, well, no, you made us make new ASINs, so as Amazon changes, there's a lot of tricky things.
Yeah.
And those are for our more premier people that, will spend those extra hours. But yeah, so basically just to run it through, what my team does is every day they come on they work Sunday through Thursdays. They check your feedback every day. And if there's any that are negative or neutral, they'll open a case for it. They check for the disposal logs and they check the case log to make sure because Amazon is famous for taking forever to answer you, but you've only got 48 hours or they'll close it.
Yeah.
And they do all the time. So they check all of that. And then they have certain accounts they work on every day because they go through an account twice a week. They check the stranded, they check the suppressed, they check the unfulfillables, they do removal orders if you want them. They'll fix the things that are suppressed. They'll try to fix the things that are stranded. They'll look at your account health and let you know what's going on. So it's a second set of eyes. They'll look at the voice of the customer. If it's not a plan of correction, but it's just a little information, they'll submit it in the account health stuff, different stuff like that. Then once a month, they go through the whole account and they do all of the reimbursements. We open cases when anybody wants them. And then on the listing side, if you have a brand new product you found, we'll make a listing for it. If you have a bundle that hopefully follows in the bundle, preferably follows the bundle processing,
Hmm.
we'll create the bundles. If there's a orphan that you found or there's whatever you find, we can help make those kind of listings And we can do the work with Amazon Seller Support to get it white labeled for 48 hours or whatever we need to do to get those listings up there. And those are a lot of, that's what my team spends their time doing.
Yeah, and it's so awesome. Like just hearing you list all that makes me tired thinking about if I had to do all that, I wouldn't be able to, yeah, work on my Amazon business in any other way if I had to take care of all that. So that's why I love having your team on my team and you help out so much. I was thinking about like when someone wants to outsource something in their Amazon business, I always tell them think through three different types of situations when you want to outsource. The things you don't like doing, you should outsource that.
Yep.
The things you don't know how to do, you should outsource that. And there's certain things you shouldn't be doing because it's really easy and you should that anyone else can do, you should outsource that. So if you're able to cross off the things you don't like, the things you don't know, and the things you shouldn't be doing, that puts you in more of a CEO type of mindset. Because the CEO is not taking the trash out. The CEO is not boxing up things. The CEO is not worried about their Amazon feedback. Just like their CEO mindset. And for you to really succeed, you need to cross things off your list by outsourcing. And Solutions for E-commerce takes care of so much of that, and I'm so thankful for that.
We try, and as time goes on, we're always evolving because Amazon's always evolving.
Yep.
Because years ago you could send one thing in and it could sit there forever. There was a one thing rule. If you had one of an item, not anymore. A book could sit there. If you had one book, it could sit there forever and a day. Nowadays, not so much.
Right.
And it's tough. Everybody, one of the biggest things with selling on Amazon is you have to adapt and change.
Yep.
It's hard to do. And a lot of us don't want to outsource stuff because, like I said before, we can do it faster, we can do it cheaper, we can, we want to micromanage our business. And I'll be honest, I was a micromanager. It took me 8 years to actually allow my team to be totally, as independent as they can.
Yeah.
And it's something you have to work on is feeling that comfort to let somebody else do it. A lot of us don't like to. That's part of the reason we're entrepreneurs. We don't always play well with others.
That's true. That's so true. Well, excuse me. Well, one of the things I'm really also thankful for is that you're offering the listeners of Full-Time FBA and the Full-Time FBA show a coupon code to be able to apply to signing up for Solutions for E-commerce. So if you go to fulltimefba.com/account manager, that's basically who you're hiring. You're hiring an account manager to work on most, if not all of your Amazon backend stuff that you want to push off to somebody else to do. And if you use the coupon code Fulltime FBA, all is one word squished together with no spaces, Fulltime FBA, you can save 15% a month. And that adds up to save you a lot. And you're able to save so much more time and energy to be able to focus on other aspects of your business to help you be able to grow and scale your business. Because again, you can only grow your business so far by yourself. You have to be able to at least start to let go, to be able to scale, to be able to grow, to be able to snowball your profits over time. And Solutions for E-commerce is a huge solution for our Amazon business, and we recommend you too. So again, that link, fulltimefba.com/account manager with the coupon code FulltimeFBA, and you can see which program works best for you. And I guarantee you, once you start using Solutions for E-commerce, you're going to be like, why did I not do this sooner? I should have done it sooner. So Karen, thanks again for hanging out with us and talking through all this with us. It's been a joy talking with you.
It was great to talk about it. Thanks.
Yeah.